Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I told you in the last video that I wanted to watch this hearing on Haiti on the Brink, and it was interesting. There were some things that I wanted to share with you out of it, but it really was kind of flat, honestly. Well, first of all, there were hardly any Republicans there, okay? But before I get started into that, I wanted to show you this article that I found because this also goes with my last video, the one about Karen Tramontano, because this talks about this whole Russian money laundering scheme, and it has to do with Latvia, and it also has to do with Ukraine and all these places. So this came out in March of 2017, this particular article. And what is really interesting in it is that it has this really nice graphic that I think you need to see right here. And it even calls it, there's a nice graphic. But this graphic, and I know it looks really small, but it goes through step by step to help you understand how the money laundering works, in case you're not familiar with, how it actually is done. But I thought this was a nice graphic. It's a good way to look at it and to see exactly how this all works, the different steps. They create these companies, one lends to the other company, and it's all just on paper. I mean, it's not real money, and it all ends up taking this dirty money and it launders it. So it's, quite a scheme, that's for sure. But this is what was going on in Ukraine. This is what was going on in Latvia. A lot of these Russian satellite countries, that's where it was really going on because, this article, like I said, talks about how the Russians are behind it, that it really is a Russian money laundering scheme. So I wanted to show you that. I'll leave the link down below. I'm not going to take the time to go through it, but because it really doesn't have to do with Haiti, and that's what we're talking about in this one. But anyway, here was a hearing that took place on December 10th. Now, that was before the Horowitz one was on Wednesday the 11th. That was the same day as the hearing with the lawyers, who then became witnesses, who then questioned each other. And it was weird. That was just so weird that they did that. But that was with the House Judiciary. This is a House committee, but it's on foreign affairs. And every committee has these subcommittees. And this one has subcommittees depending on what part of the world you're in. And so each of these subcommittees deals with a specific part of the world. And you can't see it on this list. It's down here below. But that's where, the Western Hemisphere is the one that this is. Western Hemisphere and civilian security, et cetera, et cetera. Here are their witnesses. And I didn't recognize any of the witnesses except for this guy right here, which is the reason that I came across this, because this whole thing was posted in this article about him that was in French that I showed in the last one, was on the Blue Star Strategies Twitter feed. And so, I forgot to just look into this guy, but he is also part of Blue Star Strategies. He's the managing director. So I thought it was very interesting that they chose him. I can't tell you which ones of these were the majority and which were minority. This guy is the minority because it says International Republican Institute. So I'm pretty sure he was probably their witness. But the others, I don't know. They were all kind of in agreement in everything they said. This is the whole thing. Western Hemisphere Civilian Security and Trade. That's the whole name of the subcommittee. When it comes to representatives, unless I've seen them in committees, I don't really know them, except for my own representative. I know her, but with these, I don't know who this person is. But this guy was not there. This Francis Rooney, he was not there. This guy ran it. And down here, Christopher Smith was there, and Ted Yoho was the one playing the ranking member in this case. And then Ken Buck was there pretty much just long enough to say he was going to give his time to Ted Yoho. So, that was it. And this guy, he didn't show up either. So the Republicans weren't there. I mean, really, like I said, he showed up just to give his time over. Ted Yoho did most of the speaking, but this Christopher Smith also said some good things, and I wanted to point those out to you. Now, you'll also notice that over here is Joaquin Castro, and I will play a clip of him because he asked a question that I thought was kind of good and insightful. So let's start with the Yoho one.
Mr. Yan, you were getting ready to say something we were talking about before, and I want to we know how much money we've put in there, and for Haiti to have less than 20% of the population not have running water in the 21st century in the Western Hemisphere, I cannot comprehend that. And so I want you to go ahead and answer what you were going to answer before, and then let's talk about how do we fix this and make a significant impact so we don't have this hearing next year and say, USAID dropped some more food here, and thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to add something about the judiciary system. The judiciary system is crippled by corruption like all the other institutions, and it is not working for the people. On a recent trip in Paris, the president said that he had to hire 50 corrupted judges in the judiciary system. This is an example of how severe the situation is when a president confessed to hiring corrupt judges. So no one can trust the judiciary system to serve the people. We only believe the judiciary system will protect the interests of those in power. About the fact that most people do not have potable water in Haiti, this is a serious problem, and it is another example of how people go to election just to have state resources, to live a lavish lifestyle, to share privilege with their friends, with their entourage, and not serve the
Okay, let me interrupt you there. How do we change that? How do we get rule of law and respect for rule of law?
The way to do that is to actually foster systemic reform so that competent people and honest people can go to election and run the country.
All right, so how do you get rid of the corruption that prevents that?
One of the ways to get rid of it is to show that, for example, we're asking for a Petro-Caribbean trial. In the past, no one has faced charges for corruption. And the accountability movement,
Is there a political will in the people that are in government to carry that out? Are they willing to do that, or are they afraid and intimidated to?
They don't want to do that because so many high-level officials are indicted in corruption. Their names are in the reports. They want to protect themselves, so they don't want this to happen.
So if they don't want to, how can you change that?
This is why we want the president to resign, because himself is indicted in corruption, and we want to have a transitional government which will handle the Petro-Caribbean
In your opinion, if you have a transitional government, if he steps down, what guarantees or what certainty do you have that you're going to have somebody that's going to really put the people of Haiti first?
We have this guarantee because of the accountability movement. Years ago, people like me, we were not on the street protesting for corruption. We are tired. We have had enough.
I would think so. I see my three colleagues in the back. They're smiling, so they must be happy with what I'm asking, or they don't think it's going to happen. And
it will happen because I don't think Haitians are ready to support any corrupt officials anymore. We've had enough. We've seen that it doesn't work, and that's why we are asking for.
But when you have people in control that are corrupt, they're going to suppress you, right?
They're trying to suppress the movement.
I think they've been doing it since I was a little kid, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've seen what's happened since the 60s. The people of Haiti deserve to have the freedom and liberties that we have, that we believe in. We're all born with that innate quality. And if we don't change, and I want to talk to you, Mr. Erickson, you brought up the UN. UN was there, what, for 12 years? Now they're small. How effective were they, and what results can we say, all right, the UN was here, they did this, and look at the great results? Obviously, it's not water or sewer.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Congressman. So the UN was present in Haiti beginning in 2004. They came in the middle of another crisis when President Aristide was ousted, and then remained through the period of the earthquake and really drew back the peacekeeping mission substantially in 2017 and transitioned to a political office in 2019. The legacy of the UN in Haiti is very mixed. Clearly, there was success in maintaining the peace during that time because Haiti did not have this widespread social civic breakdown that's taken place in the last couple of years. And there is a Haitian National Police, which Mr. Esperance referred to, which has become more a more positive force, more accountable. It's bigger. There's about 5,000.
I'm going to run out of time here in 3 seconds.
There was 5,000 police in Haiti in 2010. Today there's 15,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I really liked what he was trying to do here, because it's one thing for somebody to say, yes, we want to overthrow our government because he's corrupt. It's another thing to have a plan. And what if they do oust this guy? Well, then they have to have something to ensure that the people who take over aren't going to be just as corrupt. You know, if you have corrupt people replacing corrupt people, you're never going to get anywhere. And this has been the problem with Haiti over the years, that you've had corrupt people in power and you can't break through that. And so I really appreciated what he had to say. Now, the next person who spoke after him was Joaquin Castro. And listen to what his question was to the Republican witness that they had in there.
Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Corazzo, you mentioned that in your remarks that you believe that Haiti is a national security concern for the United States. How do you mean that?
Thank you, Mr. Castro. Well, its proximity to the U.S., being so close to my home state of Florida, its geopolitical implications, as I had mentioned, the fact that they maintain a partnership with Taiwan is something to really consider, because it is forcing China to keep away from our borders, which is very important right now. The Dominican Republic is working closely with China. El Salvador is just now working closely with China. Panama is working closely with China. And China is really all over Haiti, trying to dabble and trying to get them towards their sphere. So that's something very important to consider. And also here and multilaterally, it's also very important that Haiti, for the past several years, has always sided with CARICOM, with the regional bloc. And it's now taken a stance against Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, so something to consider. And they've also taken a stronger stance against the authoritarian government of Ortega in Nicaragua.
Sure. So I guess your comment was geopolitical in nature.
It's geopolitically and strategically correct.
Sure. No, and I understand. I just think that...
Now, in this one, I thought it was really interesting how, he laid out the problem, which is its geopolitical positioning and the things that are going on there because of how it's being used as a pawn by many other countries, especially China. And above all, we really don't want China meddling in that part of the world and, getting those countries under their control. But it sounds like that's what's happening in the Caribbean. And so I thought, it was good for you to hear that. And then I didn't play the rest of his because, well, then he started getting into the whole immigration political thing. He didn't specifically say Trump, but how the current administration's policies are keeping back people who genuinely need, some kind of political asylum. Well, and I agree that a lot of the people in Haiti have been very mistreated and everything over the years. But one of the things that was kind of a theme here, and you caught some of it when Ted Yoho was talking, what we've been doing is dumping a bunch of international aid into their country. Well, the problem is, once we give it to their country, their leaders or whoever receives it, there's no tracking of what happens with it. We can't track what's happening with U.S. dollars or goods or whatever that are being funneled into these countries. And so, especially in Haiti, what's been happening is the goods are not getting to the people. The money that's being sent there as aid is not being distributed. And this is where the corruption comes in, because we don't have any way to guarantee that when we give countries like this some kind of financial aid or any kind of aid, that it actually gets to the people who need it. the thing about Joaquin Castro, when he was talking about this whole immigration and we needed to give them asylum, no, we don't need to give people asylum. We need to help them get their country back on footing so they can live in their country. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we would sit by and not do anything about these regimes that do threaten us in a political sense. But, if we can help them get solid footing to help get corruption out of their country, then there's going to be no need for the asylum. The whole reason that we're having a crisis now with the immigration, and especially in the area of asylum, is that these countries are struggling so badly because of the corrupt leaders. Of course, the Democrats were all for, the immigration, bring them into our country. And I really just don't think that's the solution. We don't need to bring them into our country. We need to help them secure their own country so they can live in their homes. And that's really what's going on. There are steps that we can take that will help the people there and still address the corruption that's going on in their country. And I think that's probably what the Trump administration is trying to do, because the heart of the issue is taking care of the corruption. As you heard with Ted Yoho's questioning, it's very difficult to do, because if you have corrupt leaders in power, even if the people vote for someone who's not corrupt, you're never going to get them into power. And so how do you get rid of that? It is a dilemma. And that is kind of what our country is going through right now, because the people in power were the bad guys that needed to be ousted. But how do you oust them if everybody who's in power is along with them and supporting them and is just as corrupt? Well, enter Donald Trump. And that's why Trump is so hated, because he is draining the swamp. And then I want to show you a clip that Christopher Smith had to say, because he dealt with the whole issue of human trafficking.
Let me just focus for a moment on the issue of anti-human trafficking, both labor and sex trafficking. More than a decade ago, I met with a woman named Nancy Brevard, an airline flight attendant with American Airlines. And she and others recognized, coming out of Haiti, that there were a number of children who were basically unaccompanied, but except by some guy that just did not look like there was a relationship whatsoever, and contacted law enforcement. And lo and behold, they found out there was a trafficking ring, a pedophile ring of huge proportions. Over 60 children had been trafficked. When they got law enforcement involved, they were able to stop it, make arrests. But the 60 plus kids that had been so horribly mistreated were still lost into a terrible system. I actually wrote a law, the Frederick Douglass Act, that was signed into law earlier this year on anti-human trafficking. I also wrote the original Trafficking Victims Protection Act. But the Douglass Act has specific language in it, and it was born out of what we learned from Nancy Brevard and others, that gives prioritization to U.S. use of airlines for federal employees if they have a protocol in place to spot trafficking, to be situationally aware. So I would like to ask you, if you could, where are we in terms of the Haitian government and its record? The TIP report this year upgraded Haiti to Tier 2. It had been much worse off for years. They do have a new national plan, as you know, that's in effect. Although the recommendations from our Trafficking in Persons office is that they prioritize that national plan. They underscore the fact that there needs to be the training of police, prosecutors, judges, that there's a great deal of misinformation about the nature of trafficking, so it's not prioritized by law enforcement. Even training of labor investigators so that they can look for labor trafficking both in Haiti and those that are sent elsewhere. If you could speak to the issue of trafficking, whoever might want to take it, or several of you, is Haiti moving in the right direction? The TIP report suggests yes, but they're nowhere near where they ought to be to protect the children of Haiti, as well as women and others who are exploited.
I know that efforts has been made to tackle this issue, but I'll say that this is all part of a bigger problem, which is impunity, weakness of law enforcement, and worsening economic condition. And to solve this problem, we need to get to the root cause and prevent officials from diverting money that is meant to fight poverty and allow parents to have the resources to raise their kids so they won't be that exposed to human trafficking. Thank you.
From the perspective of the Haitian American community in Miami, for example, we know neighborhood-based organizations such as the one I work with, that there are a lot of young people who are living in deplorable conditions within households in the Haitian community. These are the children who migrated, who were sent by parents, again, because of the economic situation. They were sent to fend for themselves and take care of their families back home. But these young people, in a semi-state of servitude, thank God they go to school, but they live in really horrible conditions at home, and social service agencies try their best to attend to their needs because this is sort of the route to gang activity in urban centers in Miami. So we do notice that there are such situations. It's clearly documented, but we have no power over what happens in Haiti.
Yes. Tout problème ça yo trafic timon yo lié avec absence état de droit et impunité qui est institutionnalisée dans le pays.
All this issue of human trafficking, it correlates with the absence of the rule of law.
Je dis état de droit. Je dis en Haïti, la vie monde n'a aucune importance pour autorité yo.
Today in Haiti, human life doesn't have any importance for the authorities.
Ça nous besoin un l'État qui fort côté institution yo a marché et a fait travail yo avec toute indépendance yo.
What we need is a strong state where all the institutions are working and they are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, like a well-heeled machine.
Et je dis pas aucune volonté bon côté autorité yo pour adresser problème ça yo pour résoudre problème ça yo.
There is no will on the side of the authorities to address these issues and to resolve them.
Et même si président Jovenel t'a fait mandat, il était sous pouvoir jusqu'à février 2022, mais pas 1% chance pour faire élection en Haïti avec président Jovenel.
Even if the current president Jovenel had the opportunity to finish his term, and by 2022, there is no opportunity to really have elections with them.
Ça veut dire que Haïti pour aller dans transition quand même.
In other words, Haiti will have to go through a transition no
matter
what.
Nous souhaitons que dans la transition ça, il y a pas adressé tout problème impunité, problème état de droit, problème corruption.
And so during that transition, we'll be able to address all those issues: impunity, the question of the rule of law, and so forth.
Mr. Esperance, thank you very much. Thank you all for your...
And on this, I thought it was very interesting that he said the problem that they have is that the police don't really see the human life there as valuable. It's not something that's important to them. And this is a real problem. If you have the police in charge and they don't really value these people they're supposed to be protecting, what's that going to do? I mean, what purpose does it serve? And then he also said that, the authorities, there's just no willingness there for the authorities to even deal with this situation. That's one of the reasons why the human trafficking is so rampant there. And I also wanted to point this article out to you. They mentioned the blue helmets at some point. I can't remember who it was that mentioned it and asked, well, aren't they doing okay? Didn't they help? And the blue helmets are the UN Peacekeepers. Well, the problem was, no, they really didn't help because they went in and caused a lot of problems on their own because they were using the people for their own purposes. And so, this was a very telling story here that they had about the blue helmets, and they're supposed to restore order, but that's not what they were doing. There were some other things that they were causing a lot more problems than what they were solving. When the people there on the panel were asked, do you think the blue helmets should come back? It's like, no, I don't think so at this time. And they were pretty unanimous, all of them saying no, no, no. So what's the solution? I don't know, but I do think we're going to be seeing more about Haiti in the future, because if you saw who all was there, all the different, I'll show these. These were the ones that were on the committee, but there were others that came in and were just regular congressmen or congresswomen who came in and wanted to voice their opinions on this. And the women that came in, I think they were all black. If I remember, Maxine Waters was one of them, but she actually sounded like she knew what she was doing in there. That was kind of interesting. And a couple others that also were black. And the reason I point that out is because from their perspective as blacks, this is a very concerning thing. So when the Trump administration really addresses Haiti and starts to show what's been going on in Haiti, and I believe there's been a lot of corruption there that's similar to what was going on in Ukraine, that there was money laundering going on, and that we know for sure there was human trafficking. I mean, that's not even a question. And we also know the Clinton Foundation was tied into that. So when all of this comes to light and is finally addressed, this is going to make a huge difference in the entire country of Haiti. And that's something that I think can really be obvious. And when the black population in the United States sees what former administrations did in Haiti, and especially the Clinton Foundation, I think they're going to be totally outraged. And I think it is going to be a massive walk away from the Democrat Party at that time, because they won't be able to support them anymore. I just don't see how. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I just thought those clips were really good, and they were something that you need to be aware of. The whole hearing, lasted 2.5 hours, and you definitely don't want to have to sit through all of that. But those were the important points that I found out about them. And, little things like that are happening all throughout Congress. And there are good points being made. And of course, the two that I thought were really good points were made by Republicans. So it's not saying that the Democrats aren't doing things, but I think in this case, they don't have a plan. Not at all. When they were asking their questions, sure, you can talk about how people are hurting, how people don't have food or they don't have clean water. You can talk about all that. But unless you have actual solutions, how are you going to fix it? And that's what I appreciated about Yoho. He was trying to get to the root of the problem and say, well, this is what the situation is. How do we fix it? Okay? So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.